Let's talk more then about the situation in Italy as people there wake to phase 2 of the government's out-of-lockdown plans. We're going to cross live to Rome, speak to our correspondent Seema Gupta, who joins us from there. Seema, first of all, just to explain to us then what these changes actually mean practically for Italians.
Well, as you mentioned, I mean, this is really Europe's longest lockdown that's being slowly eased. And that means really that some 4.4 million Italians or so will be returning to work. Now, specifically in the areas of manufacturing as well as construction as being allowed to restart. Bars and restaurants can't open yet, but now they can do takeaways. Parks will also reopen, and that means people can get their exercise out at parks again, go for walks, they can go running in the parks. You can also visit your family members, and funerals that have been stopped in the last 2 months or so. They now can be observed, even though there is a limit of the number of people attending. It's only 15, and they have to be observed outdoors. All these things can occur only with social distancing measures put in place and protective gear, particularly if you're indoors, and that means masks. Now, the Prime Minister has said responsibility is key. Let's not waste, he said, what that's been gained so far with the lockdown. It's important to be scrupulous in order to reconquer the space that we have right now. In fact, health officials have said, they've cautioned that the pandemic is not over and that the infection rate, if it does rise again within the next 2 weeks, they'll have to close everything down again. So it's very crucial. Everybody will be waiting and watching to see how the next 2 weeks go, because let's not forget, Italy has already lost more than 28,000 people to the Covid-19 virus.
Seema, it sounds fairly positive from what you're saying, but there's a lot of criticism, also a lot of confusion over what and what isn't allowed, isn't there?
Exactly. I mean, people are concerned about what they can and cannot do. There is fear about going outside in general after being indoors for so long. But on top of that, for instance, visiting family, visiting loved ones, what does that exactly include? And initially it was loved ones, and then the government had to clarify that this did not include friends and only family members up to a certain grade. And then, of course, how are these measures being implemented? You've got differences in the regional level, with regions wanting to push ahead faster with some of the easing of these lockdown measures. For instance, in the southern region of Calabria, the governor there wanted to open up the coffee bars so that people could get their coffee with social distancing, but he wanted them open straight away. The government had to put in place an injunction or take to the law in order to stop this measure from being carried out for concern about people's health. And then, of course, you have those who say these easing of these measures is not going far enough, particularly considering the impact that this has had on the economy. Some businesses wanting to open earlier, retail stores, for instance, as well as hairdressers, are not expected to be open till in the coming weeks. And they say they are suffering and they want to see their businesses reopen. Others say it's too soon for that. You need to take those cautious measures. So really, there is some confusion, some concern about how things are going to go ahead. But clearly, everybody will be looking at the coming days and weeks to look in particularly at the infection rate, whether we see that curve continue to slowly go down.
Seema, thanks very much. Seema Gupta, our correspondent, speaking to us there from Rome.